Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Faith. I'm Deacon Jody Moscona. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today I have a friend of mine from my church parish, St. Teresa, Chris Dupre, who's with me, and he is an ordinary guy, extraordinary faith. And we're going to talk a little bit about Alpha, which is a program that I knew nothing about just a couple of years ago. But before that, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you live in Ascension.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how your faith life is and that sort of stuff.
Well, family comes from Opelousas, so, Creole, deep-rooted, out there, from the deep South. But I've been Baton Rouge boy all my life. I went to Bel Air High, moved to Ascension Parish when a little bit after I got married, and had 3 great children, 2 wonderful grandchildren, and we're trying to get them all out the nest. I got my youngest is in college right now. We're trying to get them all out and start our next chapter of our lives as happy grandparents.
So Chris and I's lives almost crossed a while back in a really unique way. He's very humble. He won't talk about it, but his son punted at Catholic High and in college. And when his son was punting at Catholic High, he punted, I think it was 500-yard punt or something, 80-something yards. And after his son hit that punt, my son on the radio said, "Sign him up."
Yep, trying to get the Tigers to sign him up.
We probably should have crossed paths back then, but we didn't.
That's right.
So our paths crossed when you came to St. Teresa's men's group in the morning.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, there was Chris.
That was a year ago.
Yeah.
That was really when I found my faith for the first time, really. I'm cradle Catholic, but not very big practicing Catholic through most of my life. And a year ago, Holy Spirit came upon me and moved me, and I've been going ever since. Daily Mass every time. When I'm out of town, I find a church to go to, and it's been great. It's been a great experience.
That's how the Holy Spirit works. He lures you back in when you're away, right?
Absolutely.
So I know you're married to a non-Catholic, a Baptist.
That's correct.
She's wonderful. She's a great lady. Despite all that, I know you put your kids through Catholic school.
Yep.
And that didn't bring you back.
No. I've had numerous things in life that didn't bring me back. I mean, I got a grandson that has a rare blood disease, and we had a huge scare when he was 3 where we brought him to the hospital, and they had to airlift him from Our Lady of Lake to Children's Hospital in New Orleans. He was in ICU for a couple of weeks, and it was a big scare. It
didn't bring you back.
It didn't bring me back. It brought me to my knees. It brought me praying. It's funny how people that aren't strong in their faith will look to the Lord when they need Him, right? And but if it's not something that you're really looking in your heart, and your heart isn't softened, and you haven't found the grace, and you don't stick with it. And luckily for me, last year, that happened for me. So losing my father during COVID, the tragedy with my grandson, none of that really moved me into any long-term faith.
So I tell people a lot of times, they say, Deacon, I need to help convert my so-and-so, my son. I said, no. All we do is put people in position for the Holy Spirit to do the conversion. And that's kind of, your situation.
Absolutely. Look, I've been trying to draw my family in with me in my journey. I'm still new in it, but I went 53 years doing my own thing, right? Mm-hmm. And my will, not God's will. So that journey for people takes different paths, and I'm not going to force that on them. I keep inviting them. Want to come with me here? Want to do this with me there?
So that's the magic word, inviting, and that's what Alpha is all about.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you a little bit about Alpha from my perspective. When Father Matthew McGaughy came to our parish, he is familiar with a lot of the innovative parts of evangelization, and he introduced the parish to Alpha, and we gathered some people together and we started to try to do an Alpha, whatever Alpha was, right? And we had a core group study it from the perspective of how you put on an Alpha. But when you go through that process, you learn what Alpha is. And Alpha really is a welcoming opportunity to invite people to come to a very comfortable forum where they can just share a meal and a video. And you were very fortunate because you then joined the first Alpha. And
Second Alpha.
The first one was a test.
Yep.
That was like
well, you had your beta program,
the
right?
beta program. And
I was on the prayer group for that. I just wasn't active.
Right. So what we did was we ran one with members of the parish, just to see how it worked.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, and that was my experience to see some of the videos and different things like that. So then we actually ran an Alpha where people invited people they wanted to welcome to the parish facilities, not.
That was the one I participated in. That very first one, it was opened up to the.
Now, you didn't just participate, you brought your wife and your daughter.
Yeah, well, I'd been on my journey for about 10, 11 months at that point, so I dragged as many of my family with me as I could. Two of them took the invitation. Some of them were busy with other things, like my son in college and stuff like that. But he's doing it this summer, so I've got 3 of my 4 kids drug in. I'm going to keep working them. So my wife and my middle child, Bailey, who got married in the middle of the Alpha program. So that was interesting. She had her name tag, and they changed her name tag in the middle of the program.
That's great.
So we had 3 Dupres at our table, and it went to 2.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about, from your perspective of, coming to that first Alpha night.
Well, I was already seeking and searching and looking for deeper, to deepen my faith. So bringing my wife and my daughter along and inviting them, to me, was a little bit nerve-wracking because I know that they were, my wife was very hesitant and openly said that even the very first day. We're sitting there, we have a meal, it's a little awkward, nobody's really started talking yet, we haven't broke off into any small groups, we haven't had a video, and it was just this awkward silence, and she's like, how many weeks is this? How long do I have to do this? But I mean, the very first night, I don't know, it probably doesn't happen with every group, but the first night when we broke into our small groups, we had really great conversation, and everyone in our group pretty much opened up that first night, and it was very enriching for us all. And after that, I mean, it was almost week 2, immediate, everyone was looking forward to going. Everyone was upset when it was over. And it's such a great platform and program because it's non-judgmental, it's open for people that are either questioning their faith, maybe they have no faith at all, or they've been in the church and they've fallen away and they're looking to come back, or just interested or have questions. And so it's a non-judgmental way of just breaking bread with people, having a great meal, having great conversations, open-ended questions and answers, and talks and discussions, and a bond begins to form. With our group, it happened early on. I selfishly like to say that we had the best group, and we stayed connected and no one else did. And then I found out that one group's meeting every week. We agreed to meet once a month. So we go to Mass on a Tuesday night and then go have a meal. And we've been doing that monthly. And I thought we were doing something really great. And then I found out this group next to us is meeting every week. It's like, well, we got one up there. But at the end of the day, we've made some serious bonds and connections with people, all in faith and in love. And we're connecting some people that are younger than myself. I'm in my early 50s. And I was connecting with people younger than myself at the table and connecting with people older than myself. And we all had a bond and a unit that we formed. And it was pretty amazing over that time to see that unfold. And we still all communicate on social media with each other. We share some things with one another. Maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's this and that, maybe it's an experience, some information. When we had a guest speaker during the holidays, we were sharing that on there. Hey, come to the, during the Lenten mission and see our guest speakers talk. So it's been a platform we've used to stay connected. And because life's challenging, and when you do something like this, it's easy to just go back to the way things used to be. So that's why we made a commitment to stay connected. And it's working pretty well for us. And it's people that I probably wouldn't normally connect with because of the age gaps, because of the differences in what their likes, needs, interests are. So it created a common bond within our group that's something very special. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So the fruit of the program for you was relationship with new people.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in a society where we're all staring at our cell phones 4, 5, 6 hours a day, and you look at the youth today. You go somewhere, if you in an airport, you look around, everybody's just staring at their phones. Nobody's talking with each other anymore.
Right.
Or if they're communicating, maybe 2 friends are sitting right there next to each other and they're sending each other Snapchat messages back and forth instead of having a conversation with one another. So the Alpha program allowed us to open up, talk from our heart, and connect with somebody personally. I mean, people are longing for that personal connection, whether they realize it or not.
Right. So one of the reasons why we used Alpha was because we wanted to kind of take the way Catholics normally proceed with bringing people into the faith and we wanted to turn it upside down. And what I'd like to do is we're going to probably take a short break in a couple seconds. And when we come back, I'll explain what I mean by that. But the real key to all of this is the welcoming part of it, and you experience that through Alpha, and it shines through with the way you share with us. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back, okay? Stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to continue to talk to my friend Chris Dupre about the Alpha program and how it helps us to create a welcoming environment in our parishes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
En un mundo lleno de ruido y distracciones, encuentra la paz en la oración. Únase a nosotros en Catholic Life Television para nuestro rosario en español. Caminemos juntos el camino de la fe, guiados por el poder del rosario. El rosario en español, todos los días en Catholic Life Television. Tu oración, tu paz.
As the future shepherds of the Catholic Church, seminaries play a crucial role in continuing the mission of Jesus Christ and making disciples of all nations. However, pursuing a vocation to the priesthood comes with financial challenges, including tuition fees, housing costs, and living expenses. In order to support these dedicated men in their journey towards ordination, donations are essential. Your contributions to the bishop's annual appeal will help provide seminaries with the necessary resources to complete their education and their formation, preparing them to serve the people in the land of the Diocese of Baton Rouge. By donating to this cause, you are investing in the future of our faith and ensuring that there will continue to be compassionate, holy, and knowledgeable clergy members who can guide and inspire others on their walk toward eternity. Your generosity has a profound impact on not only the individual seminarians, but also on all those they will eventually minister to throughout their lives.
Welcome back to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. Thank you for staying with us through the break. I'm with Chris Dupre, one of my friends from our parish, and we're talking about the Alpha program. And before the break, I kind of queued up a little bit of a way that we think of things in a different way. Normally, as Catholics, my experience is when we want to share what our faith is with somebody, the first thing we do is we beat them over the head with what we believe, you know. Let me tell you what Catholics believe. We believe in the Eucharist, you know, and we believe, you know, and you haven't even developed a relationship with anybody, you know. And so Father Matthew, when he came, he said, you know, really we're upside down. We need to develop a relationship first. We need to have a welcoming environment. We need to let people feel like they can become part of something. Then after they want to be part of a relationship with you, then you can share what you kind of believe with them, you know? And my experience from watching the tapes as part of with the team for the Alpha group is that's kind of how they walk you through it. You know, you kind of have a meal, you develop what you were just saying, this relationship. And then all of a sudden, part of it is the videos. Tell us a little bit about the videos that y'all experienced.
Well, the videos are well put together. It discusses personal relationships from people from all walks of life. They'll do it from different areas of the world because this program started in '77 in a church in England and grew slowly over time until it just boomed in the late '80s and '90s. And it got embraced by the Catholic organization as a way to bring people back in. In the late '90s, a church in England, a Catholic church, did an Alpha program, and then they started tweaking it. And I think in the early 2000s was when the papacy embraced it and blessed it. And now it's I mean, we've had probably, I want to say, it's in 160 countries, the Alpha program. It's 25 million plus people that's been
it's a big deal.
has experienced Alpha in one way, shape, or form. And I think in the U.S. alone, it's 120,000 people.
Right.
If you break it down to Louisiana, I think it might have been 75,000. So, you know, it's growing. I think there's 500 churches when I went and read that has embraced this in Louisiana alone. And it's great to see that our parish is one of those that have taken this on and look to bring more people back into community. And look, the beauty of our faith, of our religion, of Catholicism, is the traditions. There's some beauty in that, but it's also intimidating. And that's why this Alpha program is a way to reach out to people without that structure and
right.
that, you know, especially if you're somebody like myself who didn't typically grow up going to Mass every week, you know, because a grandmother or a grandparent was making you better do this.
Right.
I just didn't, you know, I didn't go. So I didn't understand a lot of the sacraments and the things that are going on in the Mass. And I had to learn them and teach them to myself over this past year. And I've embraced them in a strong way, but I can see it being very intimidating to somebody that don't understand.
Right. So if someone like yourself who knows someone that's unattached to a church or to a group or whatever, how would you invite them? I mean, I know that's a broad question, but right now we have these flyers in the back of our church, and Father's been pumping them out. Take 4 or 5, you know.
Well, it's really just about connecting with people, and you know, over a meal and having a discussion about something that, you know, that connects us all together. It doesn't even have to be, or you could be questioning your faith. You could be someone that feels like you have no faith at all. I mean, it really doesn't matter, because it's really about that human connection that we talked about earlier. And if you could invite somebody, hey, come be part of something that's made some big changes in my life, in my family's life, that I think could be the same for you. And it's all because, you know, meeting new people and learning new experiences and be part of that. And let me show you, why this was something that worked for me and why this was something that's worked for my family. I haven't converted my family overnight, and it's still a challenge and a draw, but they see big changes in me. Mm-hmm. They tell me they're proud of me. They tell me that I have been a rock for them, which is something that I felt like I've never been, especially spiritually. And while I started this journey before Alpha started to round that out. And it helped me start looking into other things as well. The ACTS program. Some of these conferences that come around, different things like that. I'm constantly reading different things, searching different things, trying to go deeper into my faith. 6 months in, I was going to church, listening to people do the rosary and go, why do they keep repeating themselves? Right. Now I pray the rosary at least one time a day, if not twice. I do it with the church in the morning and I do it on my own. Mm-hmm. So I've found a beauty in that I didn't even understand and took me time. It's a constant journey and it's a constant growth and development.
Right. So one of the things that I've heard is that people that have invited people to the Alpha are very happy with the relationship building part of it, and they're disappointed that they didn't join the Catholic Church right away. And I think the thing is, that's an unreasonable expectation. I think that's the Holy Spirit has to take hold of that part of it.
Well, change isn't going to happen overnight. It's not going to be the same for everybody. And that's the key thing that probably people need to know going in. If somebody sees my experience and expects to have that same experience, that's not going to happen. It took many years for it to happen for me, and I can't give you. From my personal experience, what really did it for me was making a commitment, following through on that commitment, being real to myself, going to confession, and then seeing those commitments that I made through, and then it was almost like a blessing and something occurred. But some people it might be all of a sudden, some people it's over time, but for me it's just been gradual over time since that. Mm-hmm. But my experience isn't the same as others, and that's why Alpha is really important, bringing new people in. It's not about trying to repeat, rinse and repeat, right? It's creating something special for that individual.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love is there's enough diversity of personalities and talents that put this thing on that you can draw from all people's talents. And that's what they did for you. They said, okay, we're having a summer and we know what you're good at. You're going to be the ringleader. So now Lord, you're going to facilitate you're going to be behind the mic.
Yeah, I'm just the MC. There's people that's doing way more important jobs than myself when they're leading a group discussion at their individual tables. But myself and my daughter, Bailey, will be co-MCs together.
That's awesome. And doing it with your daughter is really special.
Yeah, that's great. We might not tell people right away. We'll let them figure it out since she got married and has a different last name.
That is so cool. So beyond Alpha, I know that this is and allowed you to go even deeper into your faith. I know from the Wednesday morning men's group that you have been really doing a lot of studying and getting deeper and deeper. And there's always more. You mentioned traditions. And there's always more you can learn, isn't there?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's just, to me, people that come into a program like Alpha may not go straight into going to church. There may be some other things that we need to do as a faith community to bridge that gap from going straight from Alpha to sacraments and daily mass.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different programs out there like that ACTS retreat and things like that. But I think it's a great way to start. And look, this program's not, some of the traditional Catholics, the traditionalists, when I've read about some of their thoughts on this Alpha program, they don't think that it's faith-based enough within the Catholic traditions. It doesn't emphasize those sacraments enough, but it's really that first offering, just that openness of extending that hand to someone saying, come with me and learn something new, and let's fellowship and worship together. And it becomes that, but it starts off as just a warm embrace and a meal and a talk. And just that brotherly love, and that's what it's all about. And it wasn't a Catholic church that started this program. So it's not based in Catholicism, it's based in Christianity and the common beliefs that all of us Christians have. But those it's questioning whether they even believe in God, it's for them as well, because we're wanting to share our experiences with them.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that has been happening on the side of all of this is Pope Francis passing, a conclave, the election of a new pope. And I know that you've done a lot of reading about it because you've asked me a bunch of questions and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just this is just curious. During the Alpha, did anybody ever talk about the Pope or anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's got their opinion, and then when you start dealing with something from a mass basis, there's the political side of things. Oh, I think he's too liberal, or I think it's great that he's doing these things to bring more people in and embrace other, thoughts. And so you get all spectrums, especially you're never going to make everyone happy. So that's where a lot of that discussion came. And then you had all this, and look, when you talk about steep in tradition with the Catholic Church, how great is it to see one of the selection of a new pope? That doesn't happen that often in people's lives. We might see that happen 3 or 4 times in our life, especially with a pope like what we have now that's so young.
Yeah. I tell you what, I got an idea. You want to talk about this whole thing? We'll do another show?
Why not?
Will you stay?
Why not? Let's do it.
Okay. All right. This is what we're going to do. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on Alpha. If your church, your parish, is looking for a new program to welcome people and you'd like some information about Alpha, you can reach out to St. Teresa Catholic Church in Gonzales and just call the office and we'll find somebody to get you some information and maybe guide you toward the Alpha program. We're not Alpha people, we're just proponents of things that work. So we're going to end this show now, but we're going to come back and talk about the conclave and the papacy. But I want to thank you for joining us with Catholic Life, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Faith. And come back next time. Until then, God bless.